All right, so around the world, it's the top of the hour, unless you're in somewhere unusual like India, where it's a half of an hour. It is 7:30 a.m. in India. And if you're even more unusual, in Nepal, it will be 7:45, quarter of an hour faster in Nepal. And that does throw out pilgrims who go to Nepal to cross the border. When you cross the border, you suddenly find all the buses run not only on time, they leave before the time. So efficient. I really thought that for a long time. It took me ages to find out it was 15 minutes different. Lucky we didn't miss any bus. But the local people say, get on the bus, we're going. Oh, okay. You say so, you're so efficient in Nepal. Anyhow, it is the top of the hour, the half past the hour, the quarter to or quarter past the hour. I don't think anywhere is so strange that they have like 10 minutes or 5 minutes. But wherever you are on planet Earth, then we're greeting you to our back to basics. And the basic fact of life is that we are all temporarily on this earth wherever our clock is ticking. So let us be together to encourage each other to use our temporary time in the best way possible under the guidance of those who really know how to utilize time properly. That is, Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rockok, Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and of course, Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who rattled the whole world, woke the whole world up to pure devotional service given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, through our line to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and then to His Divine Grace, Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So here we are gathered on Zoom and on Facebook and in the recorded version. And we know some of you who do watch the recorded version, and we appreciate and happy to keep your privacy, but happy to know that you're with us and we are here with you in your different places in the world. So all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. God is good. Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagan Raghunatan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saha Gana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitangscha. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Anmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurataje Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Now, I just give you a little. That is, last time that I was with you, I was in Bangkok airport. Must be. I was in Bangkok
in
airport.
the car in the way to Chiang Mai airport.
Ah, right. I was in the car on the way to Chiang Mai airport. Oh, right. And then, okay, I'm trying to get the timing right. So last Thursday, after I was with you, then guess what? From the airport, took a plane, went to Bangkok airport for the international flight to come here. And anyhow, we had the Ukraine Zoom from Bangkok airport. And one or two of you were there on that Zoom too. And while on the Zoom, then people were around and obviously hearing what I was saying, because I should probably be talking quietly here too at 3 a.m. because people are around. I mean, upstairs and around and about. But as you know, once we get onto Zoom, it's difficult to speak quietly. And so anyway, especially in Bangkok airport, which is quite noisy. And so there was a lady sitting 2 seats down, and she wrote this and handed me a note. and she had to go for a flight. And some of you have heard this note, but it was kind of so sweet. She handed me a note that says, "Hi, I don't want to disturb your online meeting, but I'd be really interested to learn what I hear. I don't know if you're taking new students, nor exactly what you teach, but here is my contact. Cheers." So just an example that we need to have the vibration. There's a letter, you can see it. I didn't make it up. And just an example, we need to let the vibration of the teachings of our masters, the teachings of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, we need to let that vibration be heard broadly, because we have no idea who is who and who's seeking, who needs something, etc. And in South Africa, Sevarupa Didi knows, and Paramanandapu knows, that there was one young person who tried to commit suicide the day before, and then by the influence of the devotees came to the temple the next day when they had failed to commit suicide, which was kind of a good idea to fail. Sometimes it's good to fail at some things in life. Anyway, failed at committing suicide, but came to the temple in Johannesburg the next day. So we don't know what's going through people's minds, the situation of anybody really in the public around and about. But just as there is so much news, if you like, of the mundane world continuously, then there needs to be some, as much as possible, news and spreading of Krishna conscious conception in the broad public, as well as to those we think, well, they must be interested if they do yoga, or if they do meditation or Zen Buddhist or something like this. But the broader picture is that everyone is looking for happiness. Everyone is looking for eternal life. They're just looking in the wrong places, or eternal life and happy eternal life. So, dear ones, here we are. Now, okay, so I took the flight, and again, probably most of you know where, in a branch of Salt Lake City. Oh, no, we're not. We're in Vilagovinda Ashram, where we do have a lot of Salt Lake City devotees always passing through. Yesterday was Madhuranand Prabhu's birthday, another bit of news. And Jai Shri of Salt Lake City came, and we have here Sara Shiromani's sister, Haley, and she is here from Salt Lake City. Anyway, we had some Salt Lake City representation, and today's Back to Basics started in Salt Lake City with Sri Leka, Bimala Krishna, Ishtadevika Didi, Ram Sundar. Where's Ram Sundar? He's doing seva somewhere. And so from Salt Lake City, we've got our representation, and we've got from around the world devotees with us. So what would I do? Well, of course, we do have things to say, but quick look in the chat. Oh, yes, Dhanaka. Yes, that's beautiful. And Radha Sundari, so sweet. Yes. But you see, there are so many people who are waiting to hear something sensible. And the point is, I wasn't, giving a diluted Krishna consciousness. Also, we're on the Zoom with the devotees, so it's direct, telling about Krishna. And there were questions about the sadhana and those maybe having difficulty, and why they're having difficulty. And it was all Krishna consciousness, chanting japa, chanting Hare Krishna. It was directly talking to devotees. But somebody heard, and they pricked up their ears, and they thought, what is that? We never heard like this before. I mean, something we can consider from our own lives. My life, when I read Srila Prabhupada's book, out of the blue, not expecting to, I thought I'd never heard anything like this before. So it is a common realization, I think, or not. I mean, whether realization is the right word, feeling. It's a common feeling. Oh, there is some proper guidance in the world. Krishna, Krishna. Aparajita Devi Dasi joined. Northern Thailand, welcome. And by the way, the devotees here, Krishna Kanta and the other devotees, they know you already. They knew you as Anna, now they know you as Aparajita Devi. And they're all very happy. Krishna Kanta is so happy. Maybe she'll say something directly to you, I don't know. But you're making devotees happy by becoming a devotee. You see the beauty of devotional life. Somebody becomes a devotee and they make devotees happy. And what are we to do in our life? We are really to make devotees happy. That's also a fact. Hare Krishna. So I'm on one connection, so I can't connect to Facebook too, but that's been quite common recently. But if anybody has any question, you can ask. Otherwise, it'll just be me chatting away. But to you all, I'm not chatting away to nobody. We're sitting together and having a chat. Anybody would like to say something?
Dandavad Maharaj, Gangalila here.
Yes, Gangalila Devi, Dandavad, good morning or good evening. Yes.
Good evening over here, good morning over there. Happy you made it all safe and to back home to Italy, back home wherever Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat is. And I am wondering about something. I have a feeling for a lifelong, it's a feeling, and it's that, do our gurus think that we may have been exposed to the Maha Mantra lifetimes before? Because I can't help it, but like lifelong, it's just familiar. I never thought it was a strange thing. I was only a child when I heard the Maha Mantra the first time, and there was in the way background there was the, oh yeah, that, but there wasn't anything I could find about it. You know, it's like almost, like an almost memory, even though there cannot be a memory. You know how George Harrison recorded with the devotees in England, and that's how I heard it the first time. And then picking up guests at the Hamburg airport in Germany, that was a thing back then in the airports, the appearance for Harinam Sankirtan, and I was very fascinated. And it was something I find very familiar. And then another phenomena was that some decades ago, I joined the Shivananda ashram because I became a yoga teacher, asana. And they do tell you what is karma yoga, what is bhakti yoga, what is, jnana yoga, what is raja yoga. So they give you a good overview, and you do chant mantras. And interesting enough, they're saying Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. And then I was actually thinking like, oh, but that's backwards, isn't it? I dropped it all, let it go. I never questioned any of that, even though I'm very happy that I can say it, forward now. But yes, do you have any insight on that? Because it's just a feeling. I don't really have any grounds to stand on, but that's what's going on within me, especially as a child. I do have that. I have a memory from knowing the Maha Mantra, even though I cannot know it. And then also thinking forward is like, hopefully, will I remember the Maha Mantra, when I pass,
Well, the answer is we've heard directly from Srila Guru Maharaj in the case of a particular devotee, and he said, you are continuing from your last life.
Okay.
And so the answer is yes, indeed. And somehow or another, we didn't quite make it last time, and it may be, for no fault of our own, it may be that Krishna wants us to be here, that he has some duty. So we must accept whatever our situation is, and it is very fortunate if we can feel that connection, and we feel, oh yes, this is a home sound, a sound which is coming from our home. And there is Mahaprabhu's explanation of Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. This very one who is very fortunate, who is roaming the universe, then when he's fortunate, then he will come to Guru. Krishna will give him a Guru, and from that Guru, then they will get the Bhakti Lata Beej. He will receive that. And then by watering that seed, the Beej means seed, by watering that, then it will grow and grow and grow. So it's a long journey, we are told. So we can't expect that everything will be finished so soon, and it may take many lives, but we will go in the right direction. But yes, the answer is from a previous life. And the thing is, it's not like a surreal thing from a previous life. We've all had previous lives. We were alive 100 years ago. We're going to be alive in 100 years' time. It's just facts of life, which they don't teach in school. Teach all sorts of other things, but not that. So yes. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita gives us some indication too, when Arjuna says, oh, but if I take to this spiritual journey, but I'm unsuccessful, I can't keep it up and everything, oh, I think I'll have no shelter anywhere. But Krishna says, no, whatever you can get in your spiritual life, that will be maintained, and you will get some opportunity in the future to start from that point and again continue. Not to go to zero, or Arjuna was afraid he'll go to not only zero, but if we're unsuccessful, we may be just completely rejected and thrown into the garbage can, as they would say in the United States. Rubbish bin in England, be thrown into the rubbish bin. And good to have some feeling, because if we do think just a little bit, we know that we died, we know we've been in the womb, and we do know that we've been babies and children, and then got a little bit of sense by the time we became 5 years old or something, where we can remember back to thinking things fairly the logical way. And then, of course, we've made it to our grown-up life, which, is some kind of achievement. So let's use our grown-up life properly this time, because this is the window. And I believe it's Prahlad Maharaj and Paramananda Prabhu Srileka, others could correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's Prahlad Maharaj who points out, we may think we live to 90 years or 100 years, but the first years of our life are wasted in the sense of we are childish, we are just in the world as children, and then we studying so hard, then we get ourselves established at, generally it's considered at 25 years old. Up to that time, studying, getting a career base. And then 25 years and family life begins. And then that all encompassing, the family duties take us through to 50 years. Then the older children are standing on their feet. And then 50 years, we start to get some idea of vanaprastha, some separation from our mundane duties, that now the older children are now taking that duty on. And then we have that opportunity to give more attention. And then our old age life is sadly a time when it's not the time where we can concentrate so well, because of all the aches and pains and all these other things that come to the body. So the beginning of our life, those, you can cancel those years out. The very end part of our life, we can cancel those years out. In the middle of our life, we get caught up so much in the material world. So even though we may live 100 years, we knock off 25 years and maybe 10 years, that's 35 years off 100 years, 65 years. And out of that, we've got 25 or 30 years, which are very much engaged in material activities. So our favorable time of life is quite short. Sevarupade Virasi, she's put there the quote, Brahmanda Brahmite Ponno Bhagyavana Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. Excuse me. Kintu jadi lathara sange ute upanshaka bhukti mukti bancha jata ashankya tara leka nishiddhachara kuttinati. So these are things, once we've got this seed of devotion, then Mahaprabhu is explaining things which will damage that creeper. We need to keep that creeper safe and sound. Nishiddhachara kuntinati jiva hinshana labha puja patishtadi jata upashaka gana seka jala bhaya upashaka bori jaya stabha hoya mula saka bori tena paya. Well, I can read you Srila, this actually I'm quoting this, I just happen to have it with me. It's from Golden Staircase, which is what I'm reading at the moment, and what we were reading and hopefully still are in Govinda Farm in the evening time. According to their karma. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets the opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna, by the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master. Such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. And then unwanted weeds growing with the bhakti creeper are forbidden acts, violence, duplicity, mundane profiteering, adoration, and popularity, etc. All these are weeds. If one does not distinguish between the bhakti lata creeper and the weeds, then the sprinkling of water in the form of devotional practices, such as hearing and chanting, is misused because the weeds are nourished while the bhakti lata creeper is curtailed. Hare Krishna. So we must be careful in this life to nourish that nicely and to continue our devotional growth. Hare Krishna. So many things. So this is Srila Guru Maharaj's words presently. So many things may come. When one is going up, so many difficulties come on the way to check him. But we must consciously shun those things. So many difficulties come on the way, and we must save ourselves from all the many internal enemies to our aspiration. So so many difficulties come on the way, and we must save ourselves from all the many internal enemies to our aspiration. So save ourselves with the help of Guru, Sadhu, Scripture, and our own sincerity. Then gradually we shall grow. And elsewhere, Srila Guru Maharaj is saying that this is not like a sweet ball, a sweet meat, a sweet, that you can get the sweet, take it, and it'll be finished just like that. This is lifetime after lifetime. And Mayashri raised a hand. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavats, Maharaj, and all devotees. Just to continue along the lines of what Gangalila had to say, I feel like with regular chanting that it becomes so like ingrained, like, you know, almost like a good samskara. So I don't fear forgetting it at the time of death or in my older years, because I feel like when I'm stressed or when things are happening and I'm very busy, it's like I'll stop for a minute, and what comes almost immediately is the mantra, Maha Mantra. So that's where I think that, you know, really continued practice consciously of doing it is helpful.
Yes, indeed. And the other thing is we should get keep our consciousness out of this fear of death, this
Mhm.
struggle to stay alive consciousness, which is the animal consciousness.
Mhm.
And we need to understand we're relying on Krishna. We will leave our body. It's inevitable. We're relying on Krishna for everything, including where he takes us, what he does with us, what we remember. And if we remember nothing, then that he will give remembrance at a particular time. But even if we remember nothing and we're taken from our body, then we come into consciousness again. From unconsciousness, we come to consciousness. If you bang your head and go unconscious for a little while, then after a while you become conscious. Then we'll become conscious in the lap of the Lord, in the sense of under his protection. So we are here to be devotees, not fearful of life and death, birth or death and birth, because now we're in the middle, but we should surrender to him. And this chanting the name of the Lord, this is our very process given by the Lord, and not that we're going to wait until the last moment, but make it our life, because that's what we're told. We should chant continuously, with beads, without beads, but the chanting goes on. Yes.
Yeah.
And many people, including so many devotees we know, they have experience of leaving the body in some circumstance or another. And with that very strong feeling, oh, again, this is happening, but well, peaceful, peaceful. And a raised hand from Govinda farm. Which hand of the 8 hands there?
Jai Gauranga's hand.
It's Jai Gauranga Prabhu's hand. Jai Gauranga Prabhu. Are you remembering Krishna?
But sometimes, Maharaj, I'm trying to all the time, but sometimes.
Okay, good. You're trying all the time. Good.
First my Dandavats Maharaj, Dandavats to all the devotees.
Louder.
Okay. First, sorry. Dandavats Maharaj, Dandavats to all the devotees. I wanted to ask a question, something that came up. We were having a discussion maybe last week or the week before with Tridish Prabhu and Lila Moy Prabhu about a particular circumstance, a particular person was experiencing they were going through experiencing someone close to them dying. And Lila Moy Prabhu asked me, he said, oh, how would you explain it to, or how would you console this person or explain it to them? And I feel like my answer was a bit harsh, maybe a bit it wasn't so appropriate the way I responded. There was some circumstances. It was late in the evening, and it had been quite a long day, and so I wasn't kind of maybe thinking so properly. But it made me think, like, also because we in the field of preaching, we have to explain this idea, our conception of birth and death to people. And I was wondering, like, what is the best way to explain how our masters perceive birth and death? How to explain that to somebody in a way that doesn't sound like, you're born, you die, you have your karma, like in a really kind of, how to explain it gently to somebody.
And what did Leela Moy say to you? It was your discussion with Leela Moy and or Tadishro. Well,
Traditional, yeah,
Leela
they
Moy,
said,
one of the parties is here. How did he explain it to you?
I actually can't really remember.
Whether you can ask
He's
for
just
permission.
here. Would you like to ask him if he could remind us?
It was exactly. I actually don't remember. It was a few weeks ago. But it was in the between the lines that it's a natural process. This process of birth, old age, disease, and death. But for the devotees, we have this Bhaktalata Bija that we need to feed this seed of devotion, to focus in that, not in the material things. Even everything around us may affect us somehow or another, but we always try to remember this devotion, the seed of devotion that we receive from our masters. And if we focus on that, everything around us will be harmonized. It's a natural process. In basically around these lines.
Also, this is another case of time, place, and circumstance. Who are you explaining it to, and what is the circumstance? You know, when somebody's not a devotee and their wife is there dying, you can't be hard-hearted. Well, you should not be hard-hearted. I mean, everywhere we see Gurudev, he was compassionate, understanding people's emotions. Mahaprabhu showed such things in his Leela. Krishna showed such things in his Leela. And so we should respond accordingly to the person that we're talking to. There was one doctor, and this not a devotee doctor, but this doctor said, oh, I've seen many people dying. And he said, I'm not religious. He said, I'm not religious. But one man, then I knew he was going to die. His injuries were so bad. I knew he was going to die. He said, I wasn't religious, but that man I saw, he peacefully passed away there in my hand with an outward breath. He left. But I wondered why he said, I'm not religious, because he felt, why would he express it? He just felt that the person passed away, even though he said, I'm not religious. What does that mean? Like the living entity passed away. So anyway, depending on the person we're talking to, we need to try to encourage them to see that actually that's the greatest danger. As Srila Guru Maharaj says in the introduction or the first chapter of the Search for Sri Krishna, everyone's trying to invent so many things to make our life here more supposedly successful. But they don't address the greatest danger, which is awaiting for everyone, that they have to leave all of this that they know behind. We need to solve that. And the thing is that every single thing, from the lizard, to the dear cat and dog, to the dear family members, everybody has to go through this. And then with a broader view, then the gods of this world, the sun, the moon, everything is going to have its end of life. So this is the reality of where we are. And sometimes it is so that when somebody near or dear, or we witness some death or going to be death very soon, it can be so that it becomes a wake-up call for the relatives or for the person who's witnessing these things. So it is a good opportunity to introduce Krishna consciousness, the shelter, the ultimate happy home shelter of the living entities, but according to the person. We've also had people, one middle-aged person, he very enthusiastically took me to his home, seeing me as a devotee, everything, took me to his home. And then there's his father with all these tubes and all these things, and just like suffering like anything, lying in a bed that he can't get out of. And then this man, he was saying to me, he said, you are teaching about Krishna, look what God has done to my father, this, that, and the other. You know, if somebody's in a state like that, you can try to let them understand, okay, but he's going to be in a better position soon, you know, try to give something positive to him. But when somebody already in their head is kind of thinking, how God did these things, then very difficult to change their attitude, except we can give some compassion and humility, tolerance, give honor to others, but so painful to hear that attitude of blasphemy, basically, where how are you going to change such a person's mind, except maybe to say a few things when they're less disturbed, then that those words may come back to them, and then they think, because it's the position of us all between birth and death. And then, as we said earlier, the last times of our life, we don't know how that will be, but it's in the Lord's hand. And some disappearances from the world are very glorious too. Who disappeared from the world? Paramananpu can say. In Jagannath Puri, they would every day hear Chaitanya Charitamrita, and one devotee would read Chaitanya Charitamrita to this aged devotee. And the routine was that after hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita, this elderly devotee, he'd been sitting in a chair, he'd been sitting at the beach in Puri, Jagannath Puri, and then he would bow down, give his obeisances to Chaitanya Charitamrita at the end of the reading. And Guru Maharaj told that this particular devotee, he passed away giving his obeisances to Chaitanya Charitamrita. He just gave his obeisances and never got up. And Guru Maharaj, like, happily saying this disappearance of that devotee. Paramanandapu, do you know who that was?
Well, it's one of Guru Maharaj's god brothers, that's all I know.
It was, yeah, but which one I also don't know, I don't recall.
Can name another one who's probably familiar to Shuleka Didi, Suhotra Swami Shuleka Didi, you remember him? Suhotra. He was one of the Prabhupada disciples who were actively preaching in the Eastern European countries, especially Poland. And he left the world right after he gave a Srimad Bhagavatam class in Mayapur Gurukula. And everybody left, and he was still reading, sitting there. And then when they called him for prasadam, he was already gone, but still sitting in front of open Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna.
There are many miraculous disappearances of the devotees, starting from Haridas Thakur, whom we know about.
Sanatana Goswami, they'd all gathered on that Guru Purnima to start the parikrama, to have him inaugurate the parikrama of Govardhan Hill. And he was there chanting his japa as he would do. And so they were just waiting for him to finish chanting his japa. Then after some time realized he's not chanting his japa. That he left his body while chanting his japa, but still in that mode of chanting japa, but disappeared from his body. Hare Krishna. But we should not fear death. As Srila Guru Maharaj uses the English words, his own words, he was saying, this animal consciousness, slaughter it, wasn't it? Something like this. Kill it, this animal consciousness, kill it. Kill the animal consciousness.
At one time,
And from Bhimala Krishna Prabhu, Bhimala Krishna Prabhu. Yes, happily awaiting your comments, Prabhu.
Dandavat Maharaj, Dandavat devotees. I just wanted to share, so when I first started practicing Krishna consciousness, I was maybe 2 months from the time I started taking somewhat serious and meeting with the devotees and stuff. And I my father passed away 2 months after I started practicing, and for me, I even at the time he kind of was having health issues at home, and I was there with him, and I thought maybe he was dying in my arms, but he went unconscious. But I actually chanted the Maha Mantra in his ear, which he's a pretty devout Mormon, LDS, kind of Christian man, whatever. But I chanted in his ear. I figured that was a good opportunity. But I just wanted to add, for me, being like a new devotee at the time, and death, like having a death like that was pretty profound in my life. But like you said, I think it also brought some clarity to me, because I realized everything that wasn't important any longer, like all these material things that we take, our jobs, our, whatever it may be, at any given second can just go away, and they're not important. And for me, that it brought a lot of clarity. But also I just wanted to share with these people, like chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita is a very inspiring, Krishna discussing the soul and the nature of the soul, and how it can't be burned or cut, or all these things. And for me, that was very comforting at the time too, just to be able to read those verses and to hear those things. But so anyway, I just wanted to share that. I'm done.
And Srila Guru Maharaj says about Gita, it is new life for the dying. Also, that's part of his description about the glories of Gita. But yes, a personal experience like that is very powerful. And you're fortunate you came to Krishna consciousness at that time too, because this all has its effect to the family. And the best thing we can do for the family is to be a devotee. Whether they apparently accept it or not, in due course of time, they may give much appreciation, and you'll never know it. From their leaving their body, they get some remembrance of their son. It's natural to remember the families. The family is a very binding thing to this world. But then if the father is remembering the son after leaving the body, and oh, he was chanting Hare Krishna, he had some faith in God. And I know one of my relatives, they couldn't understand anything about why I had come to Krishna consciousness until they were in difficulty. Then I got a surprise message after a long time. He said, now I can understand something why you've come to this path. So Krishna has a time for everybody. I mean, okay, a time to leave the world, but a time for us to wake up. Time for us while we're in the world to wake up with the good fortune of our human body. And now around the world, there are so many people, whether preaching or you can say representing, telling people, opening doors about Mahaprabhu's message and teaching. So Sri Lekha Devidasa, you've been holding your tongue all this time. Please let go of your tongue, open your microphone, and let us hear its vibration.
What do you want me to talk about, Maharaj? Dandavat. Well, I can tell one story.
Okay.
My family, I have, there are 7 children in my family, big family. And I became a devotee, or started trying to become a devotee. And everyone, we were an Irish family, always arguing but my father especially would argue with me quite a lot. But you really don't realize how much of an effect our gurus are having on the people around us. Somehow or other, because they're connected with us who are connected with them. And one day I got a phone call from all my family was together, and my nephew, they thought that he was going to die. So they came to take him, to say goodbye to him and take him off of life support. And they called me to be there. And they said, we've all decided we are going to chant Hare Krishna to him. and you could have really knocked me over because no one would admit it. But when push came to shove, that was the thing that they felt, if somehow or other they had some recognition in their own hearts that this is real. This is the thing which is going to be a shelter. So I was very astonished by that. And I think that that's sometimes when someone will come to the temple and they're very happy and enthusiastic, and then we don't see them again. And we think, oh no, what happened? Maybe we didn't explain, you know, but actually that will always stay with them. It's just something to let people know that this exists, and that knowing will not leave them. And so, you know, as we've been discussing, in the next life, they will recognize, oh yeah, that thing. And Krishna, of course, gives that guarantee that this little tiny bit of progress on the path, and that won't be lost to you. So we can happily give whatever, or share, we should say, share, or try to make known the connection of Guru and Gauranga, and feel happy that something happened. We were able to give something, and not to feel discouraged, but give something. I had to make a phone call to get something fixed in the temple, and I was put through to someone in India. And so you know, there's a certain amount of time where all this has to get done. But we started talking. I said, oh, you're talking to someone in a temple, Vaishnava temple, Hare Krishna temple. And then he started saying, oh, I want to tell you a story. I didn't have any faith in Krishna or nothing. And then I'm riding on my bike, and this, you know, he started telling a story, like a miracle that happened to him. And ever since that, he's a devotee. And I told him, you know, how he can hear from our books and so much. And then the time came out and I couldn't finish any business, but I don't know. Guru Maharaj says, Krishna is the complete controller of everything. And he's not at all, this is something I was thinking Nilamoy Prabhu and Jai Gauranga Prabhu, because Krishna never does anything he wants everyone's good fortune more than we do. And he knows what that is. So sometimes when someone is saying, oh, this is very terrible, something very bad, how can God be there? This is terrible. We just say, you know, something may look bad for some time, but maybe some great lesson is coming in the heart of that person that we don't even know about. And in the future, they may become very happy and gentle-hearted and wise and be able to share that with someone. There's always some hope. In the last chapter of that book, Devotional Treasure Chest, there are some incredible statements of Guru Maharaj. He says, Maharaj, just stop me if I'm going on too much. But
I will, but there's not much risk. Keep on going. Not much risk of me stopping you. I mean, keep on going.
Well, in one part, Srila Guru Maharaj is saying that we have to understand first. I had to read this over a few times. It's such a condensed statement. That there is you, Krishna is saying, there is you and there's me. That's who, first of all, we have to understand that basic relationship, that every single thing is Krishna manifesting. His will is there. And then Guru Maharaj said, then you will realize that you don't really have any help to give. You may want to, I know this sounds very, give me a minute. But he said, we first have to be established in our relationship with the Lord. and that everything must be approached through that relationship. And he said that then understanding that no one wants more good for anyone than he does, and knows what that good is, and see everything through that, then we can really become a representative of him and not feel, oh, I'm doing this and I have to figure this out and I have to solve this problem, and leaving the Lord out of that. And I think that then we can become, feel some inspiration within ourselves through that surrender. My Lord, what shall I say? What should I do? What can I do here? What do you want done? And try to meditate in that way. And we, because Krishna is saying in the Gita, those whose intelligence is in the mode of passion, it's many branched. We want to solve this problem over here. We want this thing to happen, and we're going to prevent that. And we, all these things. But when it's coming to the center, then we know that, as Krishna is saying, there is you and there is me. So what is it that I'm to do for you? You are the benefactor of everyone. Anyway, that really struck me. We were reading that this morning. And it's just Krishna consciousness. It's real. This is the actual truth. And we're trying to practice remembering that. We can't leave Krishna out of Krishna consciousness. Anyway, those are just a few thoughts. And that's not an easy thing to do. But we're practicing that. We're really practicing being an instrument, if possible. Guru Maharaj said our best prospect is to be utilized by some beautiful person.
Okay, I've written down a quote of the day, and everybody here knows who's been in the program. We always try to have devotees remember something at breakfast time. So we've got our quote today, not from Guru Maharaj, not from Gurudev, but from Sri Leka. You can't leave Krishna out of Krishna consciousness. That is good for us to think about, for sure. Hare Krishna. And yes, these books, by the way, here in Vila Govinda, because I'm back in Vila Govinda, in the evening, they're reading from the sister book, or the other book which just came out, the book In the Light of Loving Devotion. And the devotees are saying, it's amazing what's in that book. And they're reading the sections which are by Srila Guru Maharaj. The commentaries there, they're very much geared as the bait for those with a Christian background to come to Krishna consciousness. You can't leave Krishna out of Krishna consciousness. And but the devotees here, because whatever book we read, it's the best book ever. They very much appreciating that book that Tridandi Maharaj just put together, that In the Light of Loving Devotion. And by the way, we're saying about how we say something and we just don't know where it goes, but for some it'll stay in their heart forever. And Aparajita Devirasi, she was educated in Japan, and she's got Japanese friends and she lives there. And she was telling a story, maybe you can, it's just a very brief story, but she said that she was telling her friends, either online or where she is in the north of Thailand, oh, the mantra we are chanting is this Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And her friend said, oh, I heard this mantra. People next door used to chant this when I was in Japan. Did I get the story right, Aparajita? Something like that.
Dandavat Maharaj, Dandavat everyone. Yeah, it's more it's more random because she said she didn't tell me when I also didn't remember I chant for her too. But after the event, she just told me that one day when she walked in Japan, in her hometown, in the city, there was a lady just singing. She said singing Mahamantra, like the same chanting that I taught her. Like, yeah, she said, and then she recognized, oh, that is the song she heard before, and she went to the event in Bangkok. Yeah,
And she came to the event in Bangkok.
yeah, I
Okay.
think because of that.
The power of Harinam Sankirtan, and hundreds and thousands of people hear Harinam Sankirtan. And out of many millions of people, one may inquire, etc., etc., etc. And there we have another living example. You know, somebody's heard the Maha Mantra, then they meet somebody else who's telling them something about the glories of the Maha Mantra, and then they come. Their journey begins.
Yeah. My friend said the lady who chanting was Ukrainian lady in Japan.
A Ukrainian lady in Japan chanting Hare Krishna Jai.
Yeah.
So whoever you are, wherever you are, do chant Hare Krishna with the windows open so that everyone can hear. Jai, appreciate very much. And Paramananda Prabhu, we can't complete our back to basics without some, not words of wisdom, but words of supra wisdom.
Ha hanta hanta paramosara chitta bhumo vyarthi bhavanti mama sadhana katayopi sarvatmana tadaham adbhuta bhakti bijam chaitanya chandra sharanam sharanam karomi. Here is the words of wisdom, Maharaj, coming directly from Prapanna Jivanamritam, chosen by Srila Guru Maharaj to be in a book, spoken by Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, and in short, it is related to the first verse that's been quoted today, Brahmanda Brahmitekon, saying that, alas, alas, during all my adventures, wandering throughout one universe, then into another universe, different bodies, I planted so many seeds in my heart. But now my heart feels like a desert because nothing, everything just failed to sprout and no fruits came. And I think in this situation, my only hope is to fall down at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Chandra and beg him for that very seed of bhakti to be planted and let him be my gardener. That is the prayer of Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. And I think this is very appropriate. So let Mahaprabhu be the gardener in our heart. So make ourselves, our hearts to be available to be cultivated by, I think Shrila Kadidi just said, utilized by beautiful personality. And I think it's a very good idea. So we can more or less conclude the meeting with that words of wisdom coming from through Srila Guru Maharaj from Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. And yeah, everything else was nothing else to say, Maharaj. The death and the birth, all of that is very relative term. But I have to say, when my personal experience, and I thought I'm a Hare Krishna devotee. I know something about birth and death. I know most of the verses from second chapter. There's nothing I cannot handle when the time comes and I will witness someone close to me passing away. But really, I absolutely failed. When my mother passed away, I couldn't manage it properly. And I tried to read Bhagavad Gita and remember all those things. So that attachment is actually very strong, even though deny those attachments. It is very strong. And at that moment, if someone would have come to me and started preaching me about Krishna consciousness, I wouldn't be very happy. No, wrong time. You can tell me later about it. Let me just get over that part first. And I really appreciated that no one did. But I was quite desperate, and I couldn't really figure out what to do next. So in that kind of state of desperation, the only person I thought I have to talk to is Govinda Maharaj. So reluctantly I called him, but really it was necessary. And I expressed what happened. And he did not preach to me about the eternity of the soul and the hinas minjat harihi kavaram yamanamjar, all those Bhagavad Gita verses. He did not say a single word. He listened to me and said, "Oh, Prabhu, I'm very sorry. But you please give me the photo of your mother, and I shall do what is necessary." And when he said that, that was it. It was a perfect heart. I was not worried about anything. I'm not worrying since that happened. So it was all done by the grace of Govinda Maharaj. And that's actually a fantastic example of how these kind of situations can be dealt with. No unnecessary explanation, no heavy preaching, no some kind of a philosophical shastric statement. No, I'm very sorry, but I will do what is necessary. Or I'm here for you. So making himself available for someone who is in distress. So we can remember that. And next time something like that happened with someone we know, we can also be available for that person. And when the time is right, those people will ask the questions. And that means they're ready to hear the answers. And that's the time when you can quote Bhagavad Gita and all the things, all the wonderful things we heard from our Guru Varga. And it will be received with gratitude, and it will probably sprout in the heart of those people. But otherwise, death is on every step. It's Mritya Loka. Last time I checked, it's still a Mritya Loka. This morning was also Mritya Loka. I saw dead gecko as I'm coming for the program. Death everywhere. Woke up in the bed, you see a few squashed ants, and you were the cause of that. We're surrounded by that, and that's not something astonishing. What is astonishing is what was quoted by Yudhishthira Maharaj to Dharmaraj when he asked that question: "What is the most amazing thing in the world?" And that was the answer of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he said that even though we're surrounded by death, we're witnessing the death every single moment, we know, we're conscious of that one day we will have to go through that transformation too. And yet we behave like if we are immortals. So that is the most astonishing thing in the world. And just to conclude with another wise and devotional person's statement, we can quote Kulashekar Maharaj, also coming from Prapanna Jivanamritam. And that is Krishna Tadiya Padapankaja Panjarantam Adhyayavame Vishatamanasa Rajahamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Kapavata Pita Kantavarudhana Vidhos Varanam Kutaste. And again, that's one of my favorite verses. He's saying, do not delay, do not wait till you're old, do not think you will remember Krishna in the moment of your death. Remember him now. Immediately, now, just do it without any delay. And that's a good advice too. So Mahaprabhu, let him garden in your heart, and always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Well, it's 4:04 on this side of the world, and in 12 hours' time, we'll be doing Harinam Sankirtan in Lecco, talking about Harinam Sankirtan. And we've got lots of devotees I mean, quite a lot of devotees. Yesterday was a festival. Yesterday was a festival. The day before was a festival. And I do believe today is going to be a festival too. Can I take Madhurananda Prabhu and the birthday wishes from all of you? Can I tell him, everybody on Zoom this morning sends their birthday wishes to you, Madhurananda Prabhu? But he's our excuse, a happy excuse for the devotees coming together yesterday. And here they made birthday cakes, plural. And anyway, the happy day that all the devotees locally came.
And Anindita Maharaj, wasn't that her birthday just before?
Day before was Anindita's birthday too. So she was having a birthday and a day celebration. Anyway, today we're going out on Harinam Sankirtan. So do join us. We're going out in 11 hours time. So we should be active in 12 hours time. If you send a thought over to us, we'll feel your presence in the Sankirtan. And we'll be grateful. Govinda, Govinda. Oh, yesterday, Sevarupa, she said, yesterday was also my mum's birthday, Tunga Vidya Devi Nasi. And last time, or on the Zoom, just recently, we saw Tunga Vidya Devi on the Zoom too. Today, she's recovering from her birthday party, maybe. All right, dear devotees, let us remember Krishna during birthdays, during other days, unmentionable days that we've been discussing about. Let us remember Krishna all days, every time. Chant his holy name. And let us be utilized by beautiful personalities. More expressions we get, learning from Sri Lekha this morning or this evening, wherever you may be. All right, dear.
Shila Bhaktiranja Matsula Maharaj ki jai.
Jai Madhurananda Prabhu ki
Jai.
I was just going to say, all right, dear ones, as Munindra Mohan Prabhu would say, I don't know if he's the Pujari this morning, but, okay, dear ones, we better continue, each of us, our daily life, but let us continue happily under the shelter of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakha, Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Bhaga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. All the present day Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Brinda ki jai. All the assembled devotees on Facebook and on Zoom ki jai. And all the unlimited devotees everywhere. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. May Nitai and Gauranga's message be spread far and wide, and let us all do our little part that we can to try to do that. Nitai Gaura Prema Anande Hari Hari Bo. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Wishing you a good day, good evening, and a good days until we meet again soon. Ami Aschi. Hare Krishna.